Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for tuning in tonight. My name is Johnny, and I've got a very cool project that I am stoked to share with you guys. Lately, the last couple months, I've been trying out my green thumb and seeing what I can do in the garden. I've been taking this AGPS 242 plant science class and been having a ball. So, project outline. This was an assignment that was introduced to us at the very beginning of the class. It's kind of the main thing in the class, you would say. We were assigned a 4x6 plant bed, and myself and approximately 20 classmates, kind of with the goal of becoming more successful agriculturalists and more knowledgeable plant scientists, learning everything there is to know about growing. We're we're making a good dent that way. So one criteria of the assignment is planting at least six different varieties, including both transplants and direct seeded kind of methods of germination and planting propagation. So some of our other responsibilities were preparing the soil and fertilizing the plants, weed and pest control. It's very important to maintain a level and relatively low load of these different competitors to your plants. The last category and part of it is, of course, presenting rather, your findings and just kind of giving any information that you find interesting to your classmates, your instructor, and maybe people in the future that are going to take this class or something related. That'd be cool to give them a nice little chunk of info. So the first component of our, preparing and planting the bed is removing the previous class's stuff. This was an old bed, so we had to clear some debris off the top. Generally, it was fairly clear, but you want to get those weeds out of there, the old woody materials, just something that's nicer to work with. So after that was cleared and nice looking, we amended with some compost, gypsum, potash, and magnesium, all either directly feeding the plant or making the microbe herd more willing to convert things over and just give a little bit more nutrition to your plant. Compost is very important because it brings organic matter and humus into your soil, allows the cations to be absorbed into that humus molecule and not just be washed away. Gypsum is awesome, plenty of calcium in there, one of the big four. Some of the other big fours, or potassium and magnesium. Sodium generally we can get from the water or other sources. We just got plenty in the soil, water softeners and stuff in the community. So after that was amended, we formed the furrows. You can see my classmates slaving away in that corner there, doing an awesome job. So after that, we would periodically compost tea, apply that after we have the bed planted. Down in the corner here, you can kind of see some plans that were submitted. But of course, like every project, you gotta kind of change things as you go, and I ended up deviating quite significantly, but my peas are in the same spot. That's something. What's up in my garden? This is kind of my journal. I have some important dates. I don't know that I have quite time to get through all of them. I'm having a real tough time keeping it anywhere near 5 minutes. But one important thing I can show you up in the corner here, these are the transplants that we seeded on the 22nd. That's when we kind of first started sticking seeds into soil. That was the beginning of the fun, as they say. So after that went on, we planted some of these, and also some seeds. And then in this photo, you can see us a good ways along, applying compost tea. Super important to keep that microbe herd active and just making things more available for your roots. And also, of course, providing just direct nitrogen fertilizer and different important things. Grow your plants nice and big. Down at the bottom here, you can kind of see the evolution of my pea trellis. It started off kind of teeny tiny, just a little 2D kind of just a little TP kind of sprigged together from one to the other. But pretty soon, I kind of built up this nice little trellis. It had four couple strands and some cross hatching. And then right behind me, towards the end, trellis didn't quite hold up to some bumping, I guess, from my classmates. But that's the name of the game when there's a bunch of us in there. So very important dates. What days we did this and that. One big turning point was the Frosty Day. This was kind of the first big one. It had been cool in a couple spots, cool, a little bit rainy. But this was the first day that stuff started to die. You could see basil, the sunflowers, potatoes. I pretty much only had basil that was affected, but several other crops in the class that kind of took a turn for the worse, and it was a pretty fast decline. 12 fives last day of class. Though I'll be back there next semester to check on my P, see if I've got some nice big ones. That was the last day that I got a nice big bunch of it. So what was actually in my garden? I mentioned the basil, and that was part of it. I had some rosemary and some other things that were planted earlier by the instructor over the summer, and I'm sure some helpers, some old students that came in and helped. Um, these are the first ones that we stuck in the ground. These are the ones that would become transplants. These are in the little seed pods that I showed you in the corner here, the corner picture. So that's some cauliflower. Other people had broccoli. I had cauliflower, I mean. A couple different types of lettuce. We got the romaine and the red, a couple different kinds of kale, the scarlet and the red Russian. The scarlet was super pretty. That's kind of a new thing for me. I, I'm always going to have some of that around because I think it's really pretty. When it gets that real deep purple, pretty cool looking. And then my direct seeds, I started on the 24th, and that was about it. I planted some carrots a couple weeks later because my carrots actually took like 2 full months to even pop out of the ground. I had already transplanted stuff on top of them. This kale and this lettuce up here is kind of a zigzag plot. But yeah, it ended up being a super cool little thing. I had the taller kale that was coming up, and as you pull the leaves off of the kale, it ends up thinning out a little bit and giving sunlight down below. You can kind of see the inner planting there. It looked a little nice when I pulled some of the kales off, and this chart is kind of invading the area too. But inner planting was by default kind of a big thing that I did. Um, Though I didn't exactly plan on the interplanting, a big theme that I was going for was density. Though with some crops like the broccoli and cauliflower, you might not get quite as big a production, but for the smaller leafy greens, I didn't want there to be a single square inch wasted of sunlight just kind of going down and hitting the soil. I wanted every little bit to be absorbed in the chlorophyll and turned into good, tasty green. So you can see I had a lot of density. This maybe isn't the very best photo, but just the tightness of my planting here was super solid. I'd do that again every single time. If I had more space, maybe I would segregate the different things a little bit more, but I like how tight it is. So pesky plants and irksome insects. This was maybe the least fun part of the garden. Generally not too bad. Pulling weeds isn't too bad when you're working with a smaller area. And insects ended up not being that bad. Here we have the cabbage worm, which isn't a lot of fun. He would kind of chew on things. Generally not that big of a deal because of some prevention methods we had. Troy, our facility caretaker, did a little bit of spraying with more natural bacillus spray, which was actually a bacteria that he put in a little spray can and put out. Also, there might have been some neem oil put out, but it ended up not being a big issue because in some of these spots we put little ground level traps for them. There's just a little plastic cup with some soy sauce and some kind of oil in them. I think we used grapeseed oil. But essentially, the sauce, the soy sauce, tracks these different insects in. When they get covered in oil, it kind of terminates them. I think that's the word we'll use. So that worked well with the earwigs as well as the caterpillars. And aphids generally weren't that big of an issue. On the sunflower, they were kind of being farmed by the ants, which is a little bit of a thing, but not in my neck of the woods anyway. And I think that the traps did well too. As far as the plants go, we have purslane in the upper corner here and goosefoot. These were probably the two most prolific in the area. We also had some grasses. This is some harding grass, some invasive harding grass. Um, but overall, the weeding wasn't too bad if you let it go. Might might be a little bit of an issue towards the ends, especially when you don't notice it or under another plant. But we were there twice a week, every week for like 18-ish weeks. So not much got by us. So conclusions. I learned a lot, a lot of inspiration down here in the corner. This is kind of the project I've got going on now. I feel like my hobbies have been fast forwarded to like a retirement age gentleman. 'Cause I'm excited about things like post. This is my little pilot home I'm turning every couple of days, and it's doing pretty well. My little hydroponic unit at home that's been inspired heavily by this class. Kind of a departure from soil farming, but adjacent, heavily adjacent, and I love it. This is kind of my garden bed before and after the last harvest. One thing I did that was different than a lot of my other classmates is the cut and come back method. Pretty much works on leafy greens. I I don't think you could use it for much else other than leafy greens. But I saw a lot of people, especially with the romaine. Well, actually, with the romaine, you're probably supposed to pull the whole thing out. But other lettuces, they would just rip the whole thing out, root and stem. A lot like you'd see in grocery stores. But my technique was to cut approximately 3 to 4 inches off of the soil. Just cut the top off and leave the roots in. I figured if it can come back, all the better. There's a lot of energy in the roots, and the plant takes a lot to grow that up. Might as well see if you can get another crop out of it. Just like kale, where you trim leaves off of. No use pulling the whole thing up. So cut and come back was a big thing that I did, and not that I'm a pioneer in it. It was very successful, and I wish I could have convinced a few more of my classmates to do. Other than that, the density of my carrot planting, I thinned them out and got a bunch, dozens of these nice little fingerling carrots at the end. But if I were to do it again, I'd spread them out a little longer. Um, and these are like 4 month old carrots. These are like the first planting I had. I'm kind of surprised they only got finger size. But like I said, the density at the beginning kind of made them kind of twist up and do a little snuggling. So I would have spread that out a little bit more. Um, this is one of the harvests I got. This is the very last one. These are some kale, the scarlet kale that I pulled out. I'm gonna transplant at home. But anyway, this bag and the carrots are one of approximately a third of the produce that I got off of there. This bag is totally packed with all kinds of um, spinach, kale, and other lettuces, the red and bib lettuce packed full of it. So super productive garden, super awesome project, and I'm super excited to see the next group as I'm gonna be there seeing my peas next semester in the propagation class. So super fun. Thanks, guys.